leg test.
What brings you here?
What do you mean?
We came together. We were invited
We're allowed to be here.
migrants, many of whom continue to seek refuge. Also, it has left 14.6 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. The plight of thousands of Ukrainians has grown more desperate since Russian forces launched a new offensive in Kharkiv and its region in these past weeks. Numerous waves of withering attacks have caused the death and injury of civilians, including many children, as well as causing the damage to civilian infrastructure. More people have been displaced as a result of these attacks. This week, authorities report that over 12,000 civilians from the Kharkiv region are fleeing their homes due to these attacks. According to OCHA, nearly 90 children have been killed and more than 320 injured in the region alone since the start of Russia's war. President, last week, Russian forces struck several of Ukraine's energy facilities with missiles and drones. These air assaults targeted facilities in cities across the entire country, far away from the front lines, including some located near the borders with Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia. Malta strongly condemns Russia's shelling campaign aimed to destroying energy facilities in Ukraine. Every missile strike has left some form of devastation across Ukraine. Even if Russia decides to end its war today, in many places, men, women, and children have nothing to go back to. Malta urges the parties to comply with their obligations under international humanitarian law and protect all civilians as well as civilian objects, including homes, schools, hospitals, grain houses, and other essential infrastructure. President, the intensification in hostilities continues to disrupt humanitarian operations across Ukraine, impacting relief efforts. Additionally, Russia's bombardments have resulted in casualties of rescuers trying to save the very lives that they are trying to save. Since February 2022, WHO has verified 1,808 attacks on healthcare. This is unacceptable. Malta reiterates that there must be no impunity for these crimes. The perpetrators of these actions must be held to account for the damage caused. We express our full support to the mandate of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine, as well as to the Register of Damage Caused by the Aggression on the Russian Federation against Ukraine. Forced displacement has exposed the most vulnerable, especially children, to various protection risks, such as exploitation, abuse, violence, and separation from their family. This has led to severe stress and psychological trauma. Women and girls are also being affected disproportionately, being exposed to rural food insecurity and gender-based violence. This important topic will be discussed at the Summit on Peace in Ukraine, to be held in Switzerland later this month. We fully support the summit and the efforts aimed at a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace for Ukraine, based on international law and the UN Charter. In closing, President, Malta calls upon Russia once again to unconditionally and completely withdraw all its forces and military equipment from the entire territory of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Malta for their statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to convey at the outset my thanks to ASG Joyce Moussouya for her briefing. Algeria expresses a deep concern over the continued deterioration of the humanitarian situation induced by the military operation in Russia and Ukraine. The civilians continue to bear the heavy toll of this operation, with an important loss of civilian lives and a dire humanitarian situation. The destruction of critical civilian infrastructure, including residential both in Ukraine and in Russia, are still a source of deep concern. While describing an alarming situation, we are yet to see any perspective of desescalation. The recent developments are showing a completely different trend. Against this backdrop, Algeria is of the view that the following elements need to be addressed. First, it is essential to give a primacy to diplomatic endeavor towards addressing in an inclusive manner the dire humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. For that to be achieved, all parties have to choose the path of desescalation and compliance with the UN Charter and the international law, including the international humanitarian law. Second, the logic of confrontation cannot be sustained and has to leave space of restraint, dialogue, and negotiation guided by the principle of inclusiveness and peaceful settlement of disputes. In this very spirit, Algeria supported the initiative of the Arab League by being part of the Arab Contact Group, which met the two parties at an early stage of the conflict as part of good officers' efforts and called the international community to refrain from any action likely to obstruct the negotiation and prolong the crisis. Algeria reiterated its commitment to make any peace effort aiming of laying the foundation for a steady and peaceful solution to this crisis. Third, the continued polarization of this crisis is a source of serious concern for Algeria, as it contributes to prolong the crisis and heighten the risk of escalation, with adverse repercussions on international peace and security, as well as socio-economic consequences, including in terms of food and energy security. Despite the gloomy picture we are getting from the ground, Algeria prefers to cling to the hope of peace. There is a need to identify all ways and means of putting an inclusive and fair peace process on track. Algeria still believes that multilateralism can deliver and calls for the intensification of international diplomatic efforts to resolve this crisis.
There's someone to look after. When they decide the mission matters more than their life, when they decide that their country matters more than they do. That's what the Rangers at Pointe du Hoc did. That's what they decided. That's what every soldier, every Marine who stormed these beaches decided. A feared dictator had conquered a continent, had finally met his match. Because of them, the war turned. They stood against Hitler's aggression. Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today? They stormed the beaches alongside their allies. Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today? They fought to vanquish a hateful ideology in the 30s and 40s. Does anyone doubt they wouldn't move heaven and earth to vanquish hateful ideologies of today? These Rangers put mission and country above themselves. Does anyone believe they would exact any less from every American today? These Rangers remembered with reverence those who gave their lives in battle. Could they or anyone ever imagine that America would do the same, wouldn't do the same? They believed America was a beacon to the world. I'm certain they believed that it would be that way forever. You know, we stand today, where we stand was not sacred ground on June the 5th. But that's what it became on June the 6th. The Rangers who scaled this cliff didn't know they would change the world, but they did. I've long said that history has shown that ordinary Americans can do extraordinary things when challenged. There's no better example of that in the entire world than right here at Pointe du Hoc. Rangers from farms and cities in every part of America, from homes that didn't know wealth and power. They came to a shoreline that none of them would have picked out on a map. They came to a country many of them had never seen, for a people they had never met. But they came. They did their job. They fulfilled their mission. And they did their duty. They were part of something greater than themselves. They were Americans. I stand here today as the first president to come to Pointe du Hoc when none of those 225 brave men who scaled this cliff on D-Day are still alive. None. But I'm here to tell you that with them gone, the wind we hear coming off this ocean will not fade. It will grow louder as we gather here today It's not just to honor those who showed such remarkable bravery on that day, June 6, 1944. It's to listen to the echoes of their voices, to hear them, because they are summoning us, and they're summoning us now. They ask us, what will we do? They're not asking us to scale these cliffs, but they're asking us to stay true to what America stands for. They're not asking us to give or risk our lives, but they are asking us to care for others in our country more than ourselves. They're not asking us to do their job. They're asking us to do our job, to protect freedom in our time, to defend democracy, to stand up aggression abroad and at home, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. My fellow Americans, I refuse to believe, I simply refuse to believe that America's greatness is a thing of the past. I still believe there's nothing beyond our capacity in America when we act together. We're the fortunate heirs of a legacy of these heroes, those who scale the cliffs, Pointe du Hoc, who must also be the keepers of their mission, the keepers of their mission, the bearers of the flame of freedom that they kept burning bright. That is the truest testimonial to their lives. Our actions every day to ensure that our democracy endures and the soul of our nation endures. To come here simply to remember the ghosts of Pointe du Hoc isn't enough. We need to hear them. We have to listen to them. We need to listen to what they had. We need to make a solemn vow to never let them down. God bless the fallen. God bless the brave men who scaled these cliffs. May God protect our troops. God bless America.